Hey everybody, this is Python printing logs on the same line. So what this video is about is, say you're running a Python script to, do some tasks, and say each task takes about, let's say, a couple of seconds to run, and then you're printing your logs kind of like this. Let's say completed 1 of 100, 2 of 100, and so on until, you see 100 of 100. And oftentimes you may have your stats printed like, let's say, failed task, let's say 25 100, right? And then if when you kind of look to the task, like if you have to read through the logs to kind of figure out which task failed, which task succeeded, because it kind of becomes a kind of difficult to read it out, right? So instead, if you had one way to say this, like completed 1 of 100, and say you have completed 2 of 100, like if you have just one line that keeps updated, then you can kind of figure out, okay, at the end of the task, if it says completed, just copy this. And if it says, let's say 98 out of 100, you kind of know, okay, 2 of them failed. Or you could just have one more line that says failed, 2 of 100, right? I mean, this would be a much better way to look at your logs than seeing like 100 different lines for this, right? So how do I do this? So what I'm going to try and do is create an application. I'm going to say, let's say main.py. I'm going to open that up and say, let's say we have a task called compute, and we have a total task count. Let's say total task count equals 100. And for IDX in range of total task count, what I will do is sleep for 50 milliseconds, right? That's the task that we have. We're just kind of emulating a task. So say from time import sleep, and that will work. And then you have a function that prints the kind of stats. So I'm going to say def print stats. That takes in the IDX, or the current task count, and the total task count. And then let's say print, let's say we want to tell we're executing this task. So we can say task current task count out of, let's say, total task count, right? Let's say this is our task. And so if we go ahead and do this, we'll just print, you just call this here, print stats. We'll give passing the IDX and the total task count, and we'll just call the compute function, right? If I run this and I'll say term python3 main.py, this kind of looks good, right? That says 0, 1, 2, 3, 100. And I mean, fair enough, but it would be much better if we just had one line. So I'll just make this +1, and we'll start from 1. So it looks from task 1, not task 0. Not really, doesn't really matter for this tutorial. So we just one line edit. I'm gonna make this a lot better. So I'm gonna say end equals, just end at the same line. Don't go to the new line, and say flush equals true, right? I want you to kind of put it inside the terminal, and then say \r, which means where do I want to place my cursor. So \r represents a carriage return, just like we had the ones in our old typewriters. So if you press enter, you just go back to the first line. This is how you put that back in Python. So you can just do this. And now if I run, say, term python3 main.py, if you look at this, there you go. Right now you see task, it just updates in the same line. And this is much better than looking at task 1, or let's say 100 different lines for the same task. Now, this is all you need to do, kind of make your code a lot better. If you're running a Python script to maybe generate videos, or generate manipulate text, etc. And that's all for this tutorial. Thank you so much.